China vowing to buy more U.S. goods. We knew that was kind of the low-hanging fruit out of all these. Could we call this progress?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the bar is set pretty low. So as long as no one stormed out of the meeting, I think everyone is going to call it tremendous progress and tremendous success. That didn't happen. No one stormed out of the meeting. So therefore, tremendous progress was made. I don't think anyone expected a huge breakthrough either. So I suppose tremendous progress was made in these talks.
What then, in terms of realistic expectations, because there is some hope in the market, so we will get something in the next 4 weeks or so. Help me understand what those expectations need to be then, realistically and tangibly.
Well, I think here is the challenge. The challenge is that the U.S. laid out a laundry list of more than 140 things they want done. Many of them are essentially chuck out the entire structural economy in China and replace it with something resembling the United States. That is not going to happen, and it's certainly not going to happen in the next 4 weeks. So the question is, how much do you need between replace the entire Chinese economy with a U.S. model and buy more soybeans do you need to have in order to call off the impending escalation of the trade war on March 1st or March 2nd. And that still is unclear. So you saw very conflicting signals out of Washington. On the one hand, tremendous progress is going to be made. On the other hand, the statement out of the White House said, don't forget that on March 2nd, tariffs are going to jump to 25% if we don't have a deal. So it's still unclear, and I think this is the challenge that market watchers have. It's still unclear what is it that China actually has to deliver in the next 4 weeks to call off this escalation of the trade war just a few days from now.
And we heard from the U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer. He seemed a little bit more optimistic, I guess, but the one thing I heard from there was enforcement, enforcement, enforcement. Would any trade deal matter then? If we don't have a proper enforcement mechanism in place, what would that look like?
Well, that's the real challenge. From his perspective, enforcement is the key. We've had a lot of, he would argue, we've had a lot of vague promises from the Chinese over certainly years and potentially decades that have never happened. And absent some kind of commitment that has enforceable teeth attached to it, all we're going to get out of this next round of negotiations with the Chinese is yet another round of vague promises that have no real teeth attached to them. We'll be right back where we started from in 3 months, 6 months, 2 years, whatever. So what was the point of it all? So for Lighthizer, if you don't have clear enforceable teeth attached to whatever comes out of this, what was the point? And for him, that's why he's less enthusiastic about the tremendous progress, because he's looking for concrete deliverables and clear enforceable provisions. That is very hard to do at the best of times, and it's very hard to do when they haven't met and they only have 4 weeks left in which to deliver something. And he's got a boss who is either enthusiastic about solving this in 4 weeks or escalating this in 4 weeks. And he can't, I'm sure, tell himself which way that boss is going to go.